Before we get into today's video, I want to acknowledge that this one is a little late going up, and it's because of something personal. One of our family cats, Louie, ended up in the emergency room. He's doing great now, so thank you for your patience. But I'll tell you, it was a good reminder of exactly what we talked about in our last video. We covered why saving at least 10% of your income matters, and a big part of that conversation was about financial resilience. What happens when life throws something unexpected at you? A car repair, a medical bill, an emergency vet visit at midnight. These things don't ask for permission, they just show up. And last week, one showed up for us. So it felt like exactly the right time to take that conversation one step further. Because it's one thing to know you should be saving, it's another to know whether you're actually on track and where you stand compared to the rest of the country. That's what we're getting into on this week's Money Minutes with Seb. I want to tackle a question that I get asked fairly often. One that a lot of people wonder about, but don't always say out loud. How much should I have saved by now? And how do I compare? Now, before I go any further, I want to be clear. I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing I'm sharing here is financial advice. What I'm bringing to this conversation is my own personal and professional experience, more than 30 years of it, to help you get some clarity and make better informed decisions. What you do with that information is ultimately up to you and whoever you choose to work with professionally. So let's walk through the actual numbers, what Canadians are saving at each stage of life, straight from Statistics Canada data. And once you see where you stand, you can stop guessing and start planning. Now, one important thing before we dive in. You're going to hear two numbers throughout this, the median and the average. Focus on the median. The average gets dragged way up by the ultra-wealthy. The median is what most Canadians actually have. That's your real benchmark. Also, these numbers cover financial savings only. Things like RRSPs, TFSAs, pensions, GICs, stocks, and savings accounts. We're leaving out home equity and vehicles. This is strictly about long-term investable savings. All right, let's start with Canadians under 35. This is the hustle phase. Student loans, rent, maybe a new baby, definitely too much spent on takeout. The numbers reflect that reality. In 2023, the median single Canadian under 35 had saved $36,500. For couples or multi-person households, it was $62,700. If you're in that range, you're right where most Canadians are. If you're ahead, great, keep going. If you're behind, this is your wake-up call. The earlier you face it, the more time compounding has to do its work. And compounding is patient. It rewards early starters in a way nothing else does. Now, 35 to 44, this is where things start getting more serious. Most people are earning more by this point, but costs go up too. Mortgage payments, kids in school, maybe some aging parents starting to come into the picture. This is the decade where financial stress can really peak. The median single Canadian aged 35 to 44 had $81,500 saved. For families, it was $139,000. That's a solid jump from the under 35 group. But here's what caught my attention in the data. Between 2016 and 2023, family savings in this age group barely moved. We're talking a $2,000 increase in 7 years. Despite higher incomes, the cost of living in Canada is eating those gains. Worth sitting with that for a moment. If you're finding this breakdown helpful, hit that like button. It helps more Canadians find this content when they actually need it. Now let's jump to 45 to 54. These are often the highest earning years, but here's a red flag buried in the data. Between 2019 and 2023, median savings actually dropped in this age group. Families lost roughly $36,000. Singles lost about $26,000. COVID-related market swings, inflation, changing priorities, whatever the cause, it's a reminder that savings can stall or even shrink in your 50s if you're not staying intentional about it. In 2023, the median single Canadian in this age group had $152,100 saved. The median family had $274,000. Now that might sound like a decent number, but think about it this way. If you retire at 65 and live into your late 80s or 90s, you're looking at 25 to 30 years of income you need to fund. The window to course correct is still open here, but it's starting to close. For Canadians aged 55 to 64, the numbers climb to their highest point, which makes sense. You've had the most time to save and compound. The median family had about $490,000. The median single had around $270,000. But even these numbers carry a warning. Family savings in this age group actually dropped compared to 2016 and 2019. And for singles, the last decade showed almost no growth. The cost of living is a very real and growing threat to retirement readiness across the board. And by 65 and beyond, Canadians are drawing down, so the balances naturally start to come down. The median single retiree in 2023 had about $227,000 in financial assets. The median retired couple had roughly $442,000. There are Canadians who've retired successfully on those numbers. It's absolutely doable. But your outcome depends enormously on factors beyond just the balance. Whether you own a home, when you decide to take CPP and OAS, how carefully your drawdown strategy is structured. Those decisions can make or break retirement, and they deserve real attention. So what's the takeaway here? The data tells us a few clear things. 1, most Canadians are carrying less than they probably need. 2, savings growth has stalled across almost every age group since around 2016, and the cost of living is the main culprit. And 3, the median is just a benchmark. Whether you're ahead of it or behind it, knowing where you stand is the first step. You can't fix what you don't measure. With more than 30 years of experience in finance and business, and as both a CPA and mortgage broker, I can tell you, the Canadians who feel most financially confident aren't always the ones with the most money. They're the ones who know their numbers and have a plan. That's the real difference. So step on the financial scale, see exactly where you are. And if you want to build a plan from there, sit down with a financial professional who understands the Canadian landscape and your specific situation. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a new Money Minutes. And if this one was useful, share it with someone who's been wondering the same thing, because a lot of people are. That was your Money Minutes with Seb. Catch you next time.